No? Yeah, there it is. Hello, my name is Dharmamitra Jeff Stefani, and I'm coming to you live in the here and now. I'm here and now, and this is live. And whenever you're watching it, it will be here and now, and you'll be live. Hopefully we can help one another to help others to become more alive. This is my video blog for Friday, November 23rd, 2012. Happy day after Thanksgiving. And I wanted to talk about today. I have so many things I want to talk about. And it's so hard to not go off on the tangents, knowing that this is, potentially seen by somebody with, extensive Buddhist knowledge, or none at all, because it's not necessary to be a Buddhist. But my blog is about spiritual awakenings, awakening to oneness. And today, I can't have that mail keep going off. Today, I'm going to talk about, maybe I'll mute it. Today, I'm going to talk about, the title is Minding the Gap. And my point is, if you read the About Me, you'll learn a little bit more about me on my blog. And I'll mention some things about Buddhism, which I'm going to cover more thoroughly another time. But my point is that, for some of you, you'll understand the terminology very well, and some of you will be totally foreign to. Either way, the message is not in trying to transfer knowledge, but in trying to help you to experience a spiritual awakening. So, the words are just signposts guiding you in the direction. Who you are, where you're coming from, does not matter. Start where you are, be who you are, and I'm not trying to promote, I'm trying to help. I'm trying to inspire and attract, in the sense that, hey, maybe this person has something that I want. How do they do it? And then you might be more receptive. But that is out of my hands. What is in my hands is a microphone, which I feel like, the next contestant on The Price is Right is Dharmamitra Jeff Stefani. And what a funny name that is. My legal name is Jeffrey Michael Stefani, and Dharmamitra is my Buddhist name, and its title. It means friend of the Dharma. So anyhow, all that's covered in the About Me. My blog, which, if this will be on YouTube and seen other places, but really it's trying to get you to the blog where there's full supportive information. It's right there. Is it going to be backwards? Oh, I knew it, and I didn't believe it. http://dharmamitra.org. DHARMAMITRA. Dharma Mitra, Mitra. I actually misspelled it on the card. And the subtitle is always mindfulness. So, I don't claim to be a Buddha, but I do, and I hate to use the word proclaim, but I do. I am self-proclaimed bodhisattva of the lowest level. I've had insight into the true nature of reality, which changed my life. I used to be miserable, an addict, alcoholic, suffering in hell, and I got sober. Starting practicing Buddhism before that, I got sober, but then I got sober, and that's been several years. And then I've also, and then I had this, I worked very hard for 15 years on this, and had this one night when I was about to kill myself, my ego died instead before I killed myself. And when my ego silenced, pure consciousness was left. My true nature, I experienced reality for the very first time. And in reality, I don't exist. Bodhisattvas don't exist. These are all terms. This is all, everything in this physical world, in the world of form and material. That's the nature of it. We have to use words. We have to use the internet. We use titles and labels and language and all these things, which can both helpful and hinder, depending on how you use them. In Buddhism, we tend not to use the words good and bad. We use skillful and unskillful. Skillful is leading you towards enlightenment. Unskillful is leading you away from enlightenment, is a simple but accurate way of saying it. Skillful is guided by compassion and generosity and mindfulness and concentration and ethics. And so, anyhow, unskillfulness is, greed, hatred, and delusion, basically, which is the root of all our problems. Delusion, because we don't experience reality. We see this form world and we think this is it. This is not it. In fact, this is subordinate, below it. It is silence and infinite and eternal. So, all three of those things, silence, infinity, and eternity, cannot be expressed other than with symbols and language, metaphors, analogies, ideas, in the material, physical world. They point to a reality beyond this reality, a higher state of reality. I had the best Thanksgiving of my life, well, at least that I can remember, and I can remember back starting around 4 years old. And they say, Ram Dass has a little saying that says, you think you're enlightened? Go spend a week with your family. Well, there's no doubt about it. It's, easy to be nice to the cashier or, whoever at the grocery store or passing somebody or letting somebody out in traffic. But, your spouse, your children, your parents, your coworkers, your boss, your employees, the people you spend the most time with and the people that you have the most energetic transfers going on, there's a lot of interaction going on. And that is when friction can form in this material, physical world. Co-host Jewel is coming over. Jewel, you were just outside. Excuse me, I'm videotaping. Go over there. Go over there. I'm not being cruel. I let her out. We were just outside before this. So, minding the gap, as we're 10 minutes into this. Minding the gap is, well, it's a term that the London tube, the London subway system uses to talk about, in English, mind is, mind your head, watch your head, or, watch your step. Be careful of the space between the platform and the actual cars. That's the gap. Now, mind the gap is something that we use, especially, well, I don't know if it was coined. I can't say where it originates, but it's very popular in the Triratna Buddhist community, which I am a member of. And I first heard it about 16 years ago, and that's what I'm going to talk about today, because it is through minding the gap that I was able to change radically, and I am so me, so full, so whole, overflowing with gratitude, and not gratitude for X, Y, and Z, but pure appreciation, pure gratitude. Love. I want such a catchy, sticky word, but I have a genuine impetus to help others, and because part of essential Buddhism and all spiritualities is the interrelatedness of all things. That moment at which you break the first 3 fetters when you enter the stream, that becoming the bodhisattva. And I hate to have to keep using it because it's not an ego inflating thing like I am this. It's just the opposite. Yet not knowing that and hearing it and having not experienced it, it's so easily misinterpreted. So I might have to work on that. But it's also a recognized word, stream entry or whatever. But the point is no matter how many books you read or how many talks you have or how much time you spend meditating about swimming, and you don't meditate about anything, that I should correct myself, but no matter how much you practice swimming out of the pool, you can't really comprehend it without getting wet until you get in the water. It's an experiential thing. And so is insight, true insight into the nature of reality. Absolute reality, all capital letters. I keep repeating myself. So minding the gap. Our minds and our lives in general, in this world, in this form, are cyclical, active, reactive, cause and effect. One thing leads to another. It's opposites. That's the meaning of the yin and the yang. the black and the white and the this and the that, and the opposites come together, and is the white one all black with a spot of white, or is it white with a whole lot of black on it, or vice versa? And it's, you know, it's hot, it's cold, it's, you know, good or bad, it's skillful or unskillful, it's enlightened, there's unenlightened, and ultimately none of that exists. So you're already a Buddha, you're already a Bodhisattva. Why bother? You don't have to do anything. Wrong. The laws of the universe, just like gravity, Jesus, pardon me, I can't think of the the four basic universal laws, but that regulate the universe. Most of them are subatomic, but anyhow, inertia and gravity is the big one, and electromagnetic force. Anyhow, there are these things, you know. It's not God that runs this thing. It's not a person that's picking and choosing and whatever. It's mathematical. It's science. Spirituality and science are the same thing. There's just infinite variables and eternal now. There's infinity and eternity. Thus, anytime you plug that into a mathematical calculation, it, you know, well, I'm no math expert, but they're not values. They're concepts. They transcend values. So, on this earth, in this material world, which is run by a perfectly just, there are no problems. The only problem is in one's perception. That's how it is. I keep looking at myself and not the camera. Sorry, I'm a little far away. And I like wearing hats. I would never buy a leather hat, but this was a hand-me-down thing, and that's why I have it. I figured I'd try a new hat on. I like hats. I always have. It's kind of my thing. And I have a shaved head, which keeps my... it's kind of cold. So anyhow, today's blog might have to start over again, but I refuse to do that because it's all about spontaneity. So why meditate? Why mind the gap? What's the point of all this, Jeff? The point of all this is that the physical world, is constantly acting and reacting, and one action sets into another, and it's reactive, cyclical, round and round. Birth, old age, sickness, death, rebirth, old age, sickness, and death. In Buddhism, we break it down into different, into finer points to 12 particular links. It's called the 12 Nidanas, okay? And between, it all starts off with our ignorance. Our ignorance is the whole reason that we exist, that we grasp hold of a form and take it. And without getting too much into the 12 Nidanas or the Tibetan Wheel of Life or the Spiral Path, I'm going to try to keep it simple and talk about those ideas at a later blog, but try to cover this mind the gap concept. Why? Because I want everybody to experience life from my perspective or from your true perspective, from the perspective, from a cosmic consciousness. And we all have lots of us have had flashes, and you probably wouldn't be watching this if you haven't had flashes of insight, of a minute of Satori, and that's called the vision. The Buddha's Noble Eightfold Path is eight steps to it, 8 limbs, and the first one is right or perfect vision, and then the rest all have to do with emotions and effort and speech and livelihood and actions and so on and so forth, and then meditation and samadhi and concentration, or that's a whole nother talk. But what was my point with that? The Wheel of Death, the 12 Nidanas. Darn it. Okay, back up, rewind. I want to stop it, but I'm not going to. Because I promise you to be genuine, unedited, unairbrushed me, showing my vulnerability. Stopping for a moment. Catching my breath. And back to my point, is minding the gap. Insight shows me what you all have probably had flashes of and intuitively know that everything's interrelated. And you can read a book like The Heart of Understanding about the Heart Sutra by Thich Nhat Hanh and have flashes of this vision. Right, the Noble Eightfold Path. That's what I was talking about. 2 parts of it. It's broken into 2 sections, vision and transformation. The vision is what you get. You see it and you're like, oh my God. It's like seeing the mountain. I'm climbing some mountains and you see it and you're like, I want to go there. The transformation is going from where you are to the summit. And that is the hard part. That's why of the 8 limbs, 1 is vision, the other 7 are the transformation. And I apply these transformative things, meditation, effort, emotion, my livelihood, my speech, my mind, my meditation, my going for refuge, my understanding, my intention. Lots of ways of saying it. But how do we go from this ideal flash of vision to becoming it? Same way you get to Carnegie Hall. Practice, practice, practice. And what do you practice? Minding the gap. How do you mind the gap? Well, I'll tell you. I hear a lot of friends in the 12-step program say, you have to put a pause between impulse and action. Impulse and action. That's how we change. You notice, you catch yourself afterwards, you catch yourself shortly afterwards, you catch yourself as you're saying it, then hopefully before, and then one time you catch yourself and you don't say it, and you slowly change a habit. And that's basically pausing between like an impulse to burst out in an unskillful fashion, pausing before you speak or act. Collect your deeper intention and your action changes. You do something else. So putting pause between impulse and action is the freedom. So life is cyclical, conditioned existence on the earth, cyclical. The spiritual path, spiral, an ascending spiral. How do you get from the cyclical to the spiral, the negative to the positive? By minding the gap. Where does the gap lie? Between impulse and action is a great way of saying it, and I use it all the time. It's actually before the impulse. In Buddhism, it's between what we call between the fifth and the sixth links of this 12-link chain that makes up the 12 Nidanas, the 12 links of samsara, of cyclic existence. The gap is the link in the chain, this little space between, we have our 6 senses, and in Buddhism there's 6 because our heart and mind is considered a sense. Those form, and then there's some stimulus which triggers that. That is what we call, that is the point of contact. And then it's followed by feeling, which in Buddhist terms is simplified to, I like it, I don't like it, I'm indifferent. Attraction, aversion, or indifference. There's lots of feelings in there, but basically it's either for it, against it, or I don't know. So, by meditating, what we're doing slowly, by watching our thoughts and getting to know them and not reacting, they're slow down. And all of a sudden, this tiny little gap, which most of us never know, that is actually not between impulse and action, it's between the stimulus and it is between impulse and action. I'll quit arguing the technical. It's between impulse and action. But in a Buddhist frame, it's between the contact and that feeling that it provokes in you. Good attraction, aversion, or indifference. That is the gap. Meditation allows us to widen that gap, broaden it, deepen it, allow us to spend more time in the gap so that we're able to go from a reactive mind to a creative mind. If you ever write out reactive, creative, you learn that by moving the C over 2 letters in reactive, take that C, move it to the front, you get creative. It's interesting. It's also a book by Urgyen Sangharakshita, as his guide to the Buddhist path, my favorite. And the point is that that is where the freedom lies. Where does freedom lay? It depends on what you think of it. I'm going to say lies. Because you lay an inanimate object down like you lie a person down. And I'm going to say freedom is living. So that's where freedom lies. That's me, my tangent. I have to quit this before 30 minutes, otherwise it won't upload. But by meditating and slowing it down, that's what mindfulness is. Mindfulness is paying attention to that gap. Mindfulness is putting a pause between impulse and action. Mindfulness is cultivated through mindfulness of breathing and mindful meditations. And that is what allows us the freedom to be creative and to change. And to go from miserable addict to happy, joyous, and free, blissful bodhisattva. And with that, I say thank you and good night, even though it's day. I love you all more than you'll ever know.